Okay, kia ora, ka pai.
You might not have any opportunity. Over to you for the introduction. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Tēnā tātou katoa. Our first speaker in the stream, or speakers, is Hēmi Dale, Piata Allen, and Tony Trinick from the University of Auckland here in Aotearoa-New Zealand. The topic of their paper is Ko Te Reo kia rere, kia tika, kia Māori i te whare wānanga. Over to Hēmi and the team.
Kia ora koutou katoa, koutou e mātakitaki mai nei o koutou kāinga maha. Nau mai ki tā mātou whakāturanga e kia nei. Ko te reo kia rere, kia tika, kia Māori i te whare wānanga. Greetings and welcome to our presentation entitled Ko te reo kia rere, kia tika, kia Māori i te whare wānanga. Firstly, I guess some introductions. My name is Hēmi Dale. I'm a descendant of the Te Rarawa and Te Aupōuri tribes in the far north of Aotearoa, New Zealand, and I teach within the University of Auckland's Māori-medium immersion teacher training program called Te Huarahi Māori. Handing over to you, Piata. Kia ora, Piata.
Hēmi, Piata's having some technical difficulties with the mic and the video. Mark, are you able?
Okay, yeah. We don't have any video feed, I don't think.
Sorry, you should be able to enable your microphone now and just turn your camera on if you wish to see your video there.
Kia ora. Sorry, I wasn't set up as a presenter. Kia ora, ko Piata Allen aho, he rino ngā tika hunganu ki here taunga. I'm also a lecturer at Whare Wānanga Tāmaki Makaurau, based in Te Punawana.
Kia ora. Kia ora, I've just been allowed into. Ko Tony Trinick hau no te whānau apanui. Ko au te tahi o ngā kaumahi o te Whare Wānanga Tāmaki. Gavin, are we able to see the presenter view of these slides?
Yes, your slides are in the lower section there, just under you, Tony, and you've got the forward arrow there.
That's what I mean by the presenter, is the notes and all those sorts of things.
Let me see, yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'll start our presentation. Apologies to everybody for the slowness in getting away. It's the technology not helping. But first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the conveners of the Australex 2021. It's an honour for us to be presenting today, even during these trying times around COVID. So, nā reira he mihi kia koutou. We're going to talk about the introduction of Te Reo Māori into the academy as the language of learning and teaching, which in terms of the university situations in New Zealand, it's fairly recent, unlike, say, the Whare Wānanga. And here we're not talking about the teaching of Te Reo Māori, but teaching other subjects in the vernacular, which has required considerable language elaboration and intellectualisation in the last 20 years, in turn has required the creation of dictionaries and texts. And so our work really is on the language revitalisation side of the creation of glossaries, texts, and dictionaries and so on. Piata?
So Te Reo Māori was excluded from education for over 100 years based on ideology to assimilate Māori communities into European beliefs, attitudes and practices, with the intent to civilise the Māori population and support the creation of a monolingual nation state. School and education has become one of the most critical sites for causing or reversing language shift and for language revitalisation in endangered language contexts. One of the reasons for this is that education is most often controlled by the state, which is the case in Aotearoa-New Zealand, and thus can be readily used as an agency of state language planning. Second, education is also the site where the socio-political and ideological values of the language community are transmitted and reflected. The very values that may support language revival. Schools can therefore become agents of positive language change, raising language loss or language use issues with students in the language community, thereby influencing the linguistic beliefs and practices of the language community. And due to pressure from Māori language advocates, in the early 1950s, the teaching of Te Reo Māori was allowed at the University of Auckland. It was reluctantly accepted by the wider academy.
So there was considerable resistance to teaching in the vernacular Te Reo Māori until, there still is, but we were able to overcome the resistance in the 1990s. Some 40 years after the introduction of Te Reo Māori as a subject in the academy. Now, teacher education has existed in one form or another since 1862. So it took over 120 years of teacher education in this country before we were able to teach in Te Reo Māori. However, as you know, schools by the 1980s were already teaching in Te Reo Māori, but the expectation for a lot of universities was that all teacher training be in English, and that the graduates could transfer the skills and knowledges they learned in English medium to Māori-medium. But there's some big issues, in sort of key pedagogical and language planning issues. So one of them is the ability to talk about concepts at high levels of conceptualization. In order to do that, we require new linguistic resources to enable us to do that. And this is important and desirable in education, because the intellectualization at the tertiary level, the ability of teachers or initial teachers to conceptualize material at high levels of abstraction is what we want the teachers to be able to do in the classroom. I mean, it happens frequently happens on the marae. It's a dynamic process. It's a characteristic of most languages. But because Te Reo Māori has been suppressed for so long, it's atrophied and hasn't had the time and the attention to elaborate in the last 100 years. So for Māori-medium schooling to survive and flourish and remain an indispensable component of Te Reo Māori revitalisation, we need a continued supply of teachers with the necessary competencies, skills and dispositions. So research highlights the key role of teachers in modelling the language that is needed to support students' acquisition of the student schooling subject. So the shift from everyday conversational language to communicating at higher levels requires a specialised language. And that's perhaps the most concrete way of describing the process of intellectualization. So people's languages are influenced consciously and unconsciously by social change and that disrupt the communities in lots of ways. So the external pressures of dislocation have been well recorded, and we won't go through here. However, the social status of a language, that is prestige value, is closely related to the economic value of the status of the language, and is a powerful factor in language vitality. So when a language such as English is seen as the only language of the academy, and then it undermines the status of Te Reo Māori, and the shift to English from Māori is exacerbated. So what intellectualization does is raise the prestige of an indigenous language such as Te Reo Māori, because it then begins to compete with the dominant language, English, in terms of its functional use in a variety of fields and disciplines. While there's only one way of promoting Te Reo Māori, language planning research shows that indigenous groups such as Māori are more likely to speak Māori and to encourage their whānau to do so if it's used in many domains, including higher education. Hēmi?
Ka pai. Kia ora anō. Tony has talked about the intellectualisation of Te Reo Māori. I'm going to continue that theme by talking about language elaboration within the context of our immersion teacher training program called Te Huarahi Māori. This is a program that grows teachers for Māori immersion settings who are able to teach the curriculum through the medium of Te Reo Māori. Our program started in 1997 and continues through to the present day. Just to give you a sense of what we're about there and kind of reinforce what Tony's talked about in terms of the intellectualisation of Te Reo Māori, the Māori language framework that guides education in terms of the real proficiency of our graduates is called Tātai Reo, and what you see on the screen here is a little piece there from Tātai Reo about growing students who are able to use their language skills and knowledge effectively to facilitate teaching and learning. And now moving on to this slide here, this slide shows the front cover of our papakupu or program educational linguistic glossary. The first iteration of our program glossary was produced in 1999 as an intervention to support our students' acquisition of key educational terms in Te Reo Māori. Since then, that first iteration has continued to grow in terms of the number of educational terms and items it has within it. And you'll see there we number about 2,500 educational terms at the moment. And I just wanted to say too, Dean and Rachel talked about too how we can spread the word in terms of the educational terms that we have. And so we're exploring possibilities there of collaborating with tika and growing the reach in terms of some of our educational terms. What we've also done too is you'll see that we've included a whole lot of appendices, which I guess have arisen as a way to address some of the linguistic issues that we see within our students as they come to us. And so you'll see appendices on sort of grammar related stuff there. Karakia, mātauranga Māori is important as part of this. Passives, inquiry questions, practicum terms, and so on and so forth. So I guess one of the things, the points that we'd make here is that at a macro level, our papakupu has been an important part of our strategy to actively support the process of the intellectualisation of Te Reo Māori in terms of some of the strategies we've used to develop some of our educational terms and vocabulary. They won't be unfamiliar to you. Resurrecting old words or slightly modifying meanings. And so one example we've got there is tauteute, meaning originally engrossed. And that's in the educational context has come to be a word meaning engaged. Intransitive verb, and of course we've added the causative prefix whaka to it to give us the ability to be able to use it as a transitive verb as well. Adding prefixes and suffixes. Some examples there, kiri ātete, ātete meaning to oppose or resist, and kiri being the term, we're using another word for a person. Calking, as another strategy there, so the word hātepe is an example there. Originally a process, a routine procedure, and has come to acquire the meaning algorithm as well. That one's, hopefully you can see that. Compounding existing words, and so what are our examples there? kupu tauaro, the term for antonyms, aro matawai, taki toru, noho akura, I could go on. There are lots of compounded terms. The next one there is an interesting one in terms of the desire, on the one hand, to almost purge the language of transliterations. And that was certainly, that has been a trend we've seen within Te Reo Māori. By the same token, many of our speakers are very familiar with those words. So there's a wee bit of a tension sometimes between the purging and retention of transliterations. And the examples you see there are ones that kind of are trying to show there's a nice balance between retention versus non-retention of transliterations there. Creation of new words, whenua tūhake as an example there, a word for a republic, reduplication, and some functional change to meaning of words. Nouns can become verbs and verbs can become nouns. All right. Tenses tells us something to you, Tony.
So one of the things we've appreciated about conferences is the ability to share our work and to have it critiqued. And one of the things we've noticed over the last 20 years, the number of tensions and challenges. Many languages, for example, tend to transliterate. So it's common in European languages, for example, with its English, German, French, Spanish, that they tend to just change the spelling, the phonology of the word, so that the terms are all generally understood by each of the different languages. We've chosen a completely different route, which is to do with linguistic purity, which is to revert to the native stock. It has its advantages and disadvantages. The other one I'll perhaps focus on today is one of the key goals of language revitalisation has been the revitalisation of iwi hapu dialects, whereas in many ways our work acts counter to that, in that we very much, our role is to standardise the language, obviously, for teachers to go from tertiary institutions to schools. That doesn't mean that you can't use your dialect in the syntax and semantics. You can. All we're saying is that as teachers move around schools and use different resources, we don't want necessarily the dialect to get in the road of learning. So there's constant elaboration going on. Every week we're involved in the creation of new terms. So Hēmi and Piata?
I'll start if it's all right, Piata. At this point, we will just turn the focus onto our own university, the University of Auckland. In 2019, our university officially launched its revised Te Reo Māori policy, and you see the goals there on the slide. The goals are bold, and we've been deliberate in aligning our university language revitalisation goals and plan with the National Māori Language Revitalisation Goals and Plan, Te Whare o Te Reo Māori Ora, which was implemented in 2017 by Te Mātāwai, the National Independent Authority of National Oversight of the Revitalisation of Te Reo Māori in New Zealand. You'll also see the name Waipapa Taumatarau in the slide, which is now the Māori name for our university. The name was gifted to us by Ngāti Whātua and replaces the previous Māori name Te Whare Wānanga o Tāmaki Makaurau. I'd probably argue the shift to the name Waipapa Taumatarau is a good segue into the new direction that has been charted by our university's Māori language revitalisation plan. And we'll talk a wee bit more about that. Piata, what do you want to
One of the projects that I'm currently involved in is Te Taumata Ngaio, which supports our Māori language plan, in that it addresses the Māori language needs of staff in order to support the moving towards the aspirations of the language plan. And in particular, we are utilising digital technology to be able to scale that program as much as we can across the university. And at this stage, we're looking at how we can incorporate technology such as machine marking to enable the scaling of Māori language learning across the university.
Okay. I'll just add there, so as Piata said there, Te Taumata Ngaio was the overarching term for the different Māori language learning options we have available present at the University of Auckland. And so Piata's talked about one of those options there. There are other options as well. A mixture of hybrid online on-campus Māori language courses for University of Auckland staff at level 1, level 2, level 3, sort of stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and which are to be taught or being taught through Māori Studies and Te Puna Wānanga, our school within the Faculty of Education. In addition to, there are a range of non-credit bearing learning options, short courses, wānanga, kurareo, as well as development options for proficient Te Reo Māori speakers as well. So that's some of what we've been able to achieve, leveraging off our Te Reo Māori policy and plan. Just the other element to that, on this next slide here, some further offerings there. We've developed a Te Reo Māori app, and we're increasing the Te Reo Māori usage across university platforms, bilingual signage, job terms. Those things have proved particularly popular. There's been a great appetite for those things there, and we're kind of learning as we go. The example there around signage there, tau pai versus wāhi whakatau. We have a Northland campus there. Tony talked about dialect, and we mistakenly thought we'd offer the word tau pai as a widely used term for reception. Anyway, we've got a bit of an adverse response from our northern colleagues there, and some of that was to do with the word pai that sits within tau pai, which in the olden times was the two things you held on to in the old Māori latrines. And so after a bit of negotiation there, Tai Tokerau have gone with wāhi whakatau, literally place of welcome, as an alternative term for reception. So as I say, we're learning as we go there and looking to be as sensitive and embracing of dialect, given the reach of our university across iwi. Okay, I think that's that one.
So, in the absence of a national language plan at tertiary level, as you all know, it's essentially left up to each institution to determine its own language plan and policy. So over time, Te Puna Wānanga, the Faculty of Education, has developed capacity to teach in the vernacular. We teach all subjects in the medium of Māori, and as has been noted, requires considerable language elaboration and dictionary development. And two, we also now have a strategic role in the development of Te Reo Māori generally in the university, through our roles in the various committees. So to conclude, we've spoken rather fast to try and catch up on time, and I think we are pretty much on time, and it's been hard trying to stop Hēmi and Piata from talking. So we're going to stop here and open it up for questions or comments. I'm not sure how you do that, but I'm assuming the controller of the cam can do that for us.
Kia ora koutou, ngā mihi kia koutou mō tō kōrero. I'm going to open it up for questions now. There's no questions that have come in, but if any of the participants have questions, please feel free to type them down and I will get these to the presenters.
No, I found it because this is the Australian one, that's why. Because they've got IHG.
So it looks like that no one has any questions. I want to thank you all for your contributions, and here's a comment from Professor Tania Ka'ai, tēnā koutou e aku hoa. The professor has a question and she's just typing it. Just give her a few minutes.
Could be a long question.
It might be a long question.
I think this question's got Piata's name written all over it.
I picked the one with packaging as the number one, because I know we've done nothing with packaging. Yes.
Oh, she's still going. Okay. She's interested in your thoughts on the importance of a national language plan.
You name it with a fine line, put a dash and go one.
Okay. We think...
This is for the tertiary sector, sorry.
Friday we can choose.
Yeah. We think it's very important that there should be one, and for a number of reasons. One is that we think our collective voice and our collective expertise can make a greater contribution than our individual institutions. That doesn't mean our individual. It's not taking the mana away from individual institutions, but what we find is that institutions will always find as many excuses as they can to not support, while they may, and on paper, in practice, it's often a different story. So when you have something like a formalized language plan that acts like a policy that all universities have bought into, then it provides in terms of our support, it's like having a Treaty of Waitangi, which is a language plan that we can hold the managers and the bureaucrats to in our institutions. So I think if we had one which was broad enough that each of us can operate within, but prescriptive enough that it won't allow the bureaucrats to wiggle out of, is important. So like at the moment, it's very disjointed. It's very fragmented. But we think there's a lot of benefit in us as a collective working across the motu.
That's great. That's great, Tony. Thank you. So one further comment from the professor is she absolutely agrees with you. So how do we make it happen anyway?
I think we can we do it as a collective. We start off. And as getting the senior Māori academics all those working in language revitalisation together and come up with a proposal and getting buy-in from our, the senior Māori academics to support us, and it gets. So I think it has to be sort of a grassroots effort rather than us waiting for the university to agree to it. Is that we started ourselves, and then as a collective propose it to our individual universities.
Yeah.
Thank you. So any more questions, Professor? Okay, so here's a further comment from the Professor. Tautoko Aira, could we lobby this across Te Mahi Karona?
It's normally just the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what would be great is if the other Te Reo Māori language institutes lobby that that language revitalisation is more likely to occur where it's in more domains, which include the tertiary sector. So Te Reo Māori is not going to be totally revitalised relying solely on schools and the great efforts by iwi and hapu. It has to be across a whole range of domains, including tertiary. Tech ought to have a role in this, but they tend to be much more concerned about other issues. But this is an issue they can be concerned with.
Box here is the one we want to make bigger, so you right click.
Great, thank you. So a further comment from the Professor. As government looks to normalise te reo, I think the kaupapa can get. Thank you all. So on that note, since there's no further questions, once again, thank you Hēmi, Tony, Piata for joining us on this Australex 2021 conference, and hope you'll be able to share in some of the other presentations that are happening over the course of the conference. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
If that's what you want.